Welcome back to Striving Artists. I'm your host, Arlene. I'm so thrilled to have one of Mississauga's greats here on the show. He is the music director for the Mississauga Symphony Orchestra, music director for Mississauga Youth Orchestra, as well as the York Symphony Orchestra and Opera York.
Yes.
Is that right? I've got Denis Mastromonaco here with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to see you again.
No problem. So in the show, we want to get into like the nitty and gritty of being an artist, and you have accomplished so much, not only here in the city, but all over the GTA and around the world, at least in my eyes.
Thank you.
Can you talk to us about how you started as a musician, even to when you decided, or how it fell onto you to do music directing?
Right. Wow, that's a loaded one.
I know. Now you get to talk for the rest of the
Got a few hours. I'm sure we can get through that. So that's a tough one to summarize, but I'll keep it as short as I can. So music wasn't part of my life growing up. No one in my family is musicians,
Okay.
Although my sisters took music lessons and music was in the house. My earliest memory is listening to opera. My mother loved opera.
Nice.
And listening to opera on Saturday and Sunday mornings. My father, who is Argentine, would listen to tangos. So the folk and classical music was played in the house. I wasn't a fan of taking lessons. I didn't start music till quite late. But like everyone else, you start, and I was good at it at the beginning. I was sort of naturally talented. But that only takes you so far.
Okay.
And somewhere through high school, I thought, really gotta push myself. Started studying with Bart Woomer, member of the Toronto Symphony. Did my further studies, went through the University of Toronto system, music performance. Somewhere in that world, between late high school and early university, something happens, right? And it's that spark that tells you there's something magical here.
Yes.
You can't explain it. And really, if I could explain it, then we'd have a lineup of artists, knocking on the door, wanting to become music directors. So then the training process began. Traveled to Europe and Salzburg and Italy, and continue my studies there. And there's an evolution that takes you from a 12, 14-year-old child learning an instrument to someone that is standing in front of an orchestra. And that evolution happens day by day. There is no suddenly, I am a conductor.
Right.
I am this figurehead. One day you are it.
Okay.
It's a slow path and a very challenging one, very difficult one.
Do you find that with that, from going from a musician to the conductor, the thought of doing that, was that also gradual, or was that something like, oh, I think I'd rather be doing what he's doing, or she's doing?
Well, there's obviously certain moments that strike you. One of those was in my early sort of high school.
Okay.
I was probably somewhere around age 16, and attending performances, and I, in those years, started to see there was actually a conductor, Yuka Saraste at the Toronto Symphony, and I went to watch the orchestra like many of us did, and there was really something magical about it. It was choreography from the podium that connected so well with the music. That tied into, of course, what they were playing.
Right.
There was Beethoven, and I was a huge Beethoven fan. So there's something about that I thought, how does that work? Right? Just
Okay.
it looks great, but really, and then the process began. You start to take conducting lessons,
Right.
and you start to study what it takes to be a conductor, and you realize it's a completely different world than studying and learning a musical instrument.
Okay.
It's not 8 hours a day practicing. It's 8 hours a day of exploring music as it is, harmonic analysis and score study and history, and part of it is going to Vienna to see where Beethoven lived and looking at his manuscripts. There's 1,000 things involved as opposed to a narrow focus of trying to be the best performer.
Right.
So I wouldn't say there was a specific moment
Okay.
that changed.
Yeah. Do you find now with your new role, you're all over the place. How do you balance your schedule? Do you have an assistant?
Well, there is an assistant conductor at MSO and MSYO, that's the Orchestra and Youth Orchestra. So it's normal to have assistant conductors, and in the case with the MSO, Jennifer Tung is an assistant. She's fantastic. I don't have a personal assistant unless you're volunteering to pick up my laundry and stuff.
Right.
Or do my taxes. But no, besides all that, time schedule is interesting as a musician or as a director. Is you have specific time restraints. You got to work between 7 and 10 p.m. in front of an orchestra.
Right.
What you have to make sure is the other 10, 12 hours in the day, you plan it so that you are ready for those intense rehearsal moments.
Okay.
And getting yourself scheduled is sort of a partial. They should teach it to every conductor at the beginning.
I think they should just teach it to all artists.
Absolutely.
And with art comes business side. Is there, I know we kind of chat about that off camera. How important is it to know both sides as a working artist?
I think it's really important to realize that the art form is simply that. If you are an artist, and I say in quotes because I think this term here, if you walk to someone across the street and stop them and says, "What do you think of an artist?" They think of someone on a street corner with a music box open collecting change.
Right.
So they see it as a purely, artists, they don't have real jobs, right? They're not real part of society. Of course, that's a mistake.
Right.
So, one, if you are truly an artist, then close yourself in the closet, make art for yourself, and you are an artist. But the moment you have to eat and live, you have to popularize, you have to market your art form, and that is business.
Right.
And that is a point where you have to get yourself out to make a product or a service or an art form that someone will pay money for.
Right.
And that is the business side. And it's difficult to accept, but artists must live and eat and work, and business is just as important as any other market.
For those artists, because I know I talk to a lot of them, they're like, I don't want to promote myself. I don't want to seem too godly in that sense. But do you have any advice? Probably. But do you have advice or any?
First of all, I think with that idea that they don't want to promote themselves or they want a manager or anything like that, well, something's missing there.
Okay.
Something's missing. Either they are completely introverted and they don't want to share their art with anyone,
right?
As some poets of the 18th century thought, they kept it and it was all published after they died. Okay, great. If this person wants to do that, then tell them, go do your art form. Don't be in the public eye. Do it in the closet,
right.
Or sing in the shower. But that's false. If they really feel that way, something's missing. You have to be in front of people. It's natural.
Right.
Camera. We look at it, we smile, and we greet people. This is part of the process. If they're not able to do that, then they will always be restricted in the eyes of the public.
Right. And because you've had music in your life for a long time, did you come across any adversity from family, friends? And I know a lot of my peers do. And how did you deal with that?
I think that's natural, right?
Yeah.
Instinct, you tell your parents you're going to be a musician.
Right.
And you encounter it in different ways, of course. I remember my mom, who supported everything I did. Her only comment was, do whatever will be easiest in life. And she says, I don't know. She says, you're really smart. Go be a doctor and you make lots of money to make my life easy. But if this makes me happy and makes my life easy, great. Because she was about simplicity. Wonderful, dear and caring woman that cared about her children. That was her objective. My dad and other people were sort of like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? Do you not want to do this? That was a common sort of topic. Once you go into the world of musicians, you're surrounded by all people that experience that, and that's sort of removed, which is unfortunate. Because when you're looking at me wondering. So when you surround yourself by a room of people that were all told, are you sure you should be a musician? And now they're all with each other, ignoring that, and they all want to be artists.
Right.
There's no check. Should you be an artist?
Okay.
So put yourself in a room full of artists that all are aiming for a similar goal of being an artist, and there's no one checking to see, are you good enough to be an artist?
That's interesting.
So sometimes that adversity is a really important thing to have, to say, well, there's a theory. We're taught from young children, be all that you can be. You can do anything in life, right? I want to go play on the Raptors.
Okay.
Yes, I'm 5'6". Why can't I? I'm being told I can do whatever I want.
Right.
But if I do that, I'll fail. But I'm quite intelligent, and not in an egotistical way. Yes, I'm saying, so perhaps the sciences and the maths would be an ideal target for me, or something that takes me in that direction. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But I can't be an astronaut. I can't be a swimmer. I don't swim. I can't be an Olympic athlete because I'm not good at that. So why go down avenues that you're simply not good at? And artists aren't checked enough.
I see.
To be told, leave it for someone else that is free up the space.
Right. That's interesting. I like that take on it. So learned so much from Denis Mastromonaco here. We're actually at the Living Arts Center where the Mississauga Symphony Orchestra performs at the Hammerson Hall. And you've got a ton of things looking forward to in the upcoming fall, winter.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So here at the MSO, we're just wrapping up our past season, getting into the summer months, which is generally quiet. But then we hit September forward. We've got a fantastic season lined up, of course, traditional masterworks concerts with great symphonies by Dvorak, fine soloists, Talissa Blackman playing Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue. But then we also have family programming with our holiday concerts here in Hammerson Hall. Messiah with Mississauga Festival Choir. We are bringing opera back, fully staged opera.
Yes.
The only thing in the city here in Mississauga that is fully staged. It's fantastic. Look for that in January. And we're doing a pop show. In this case, it's movie, film, music. It's Star Wars. Nice. The music of Star Wars in concert. It's usually sold out, so if anyone's interested, got to get tickets early for that one. It's sold out weeks in advance. Some really wonderful programming, and then the youth orchestra does their own set of concerts. We get out to the community numerous times a year. We've got Canada Day coming up to perform. So really, really busy schedule here at the Living Arts Center, and great hall to be in too.
For sure, yeah. And if you haven't seen their show, like, I haven't gone to the Star Wars yet, but I only see pictures, and
it's great.
People dress up.
They dress up, absolutely. I dress up.
That's
as
right.
Chewbacca, no. Usually as Han Solo or as Luke or Qui-Gon. I grew my beard for the show. And then I shave at intermission.
Do you really?
I did the last time. I had a beard for the first half.
Wow.
Shaved and changed costumes for the second half. It's all about the showmanship.
That's true. And you're great as you know, to talk in between the songs and between the pieces. Because you bring light to the show. At least that's what I think of as an audience member.
You have to engage with the audience, otherwise it's one-dimensional.
For sure. And for the opera, how different is that from conducting just the orchestra?
Oh, yeah. So you're trying to control two very important aspects. One is what's happening on stage, and what's happening in the pit in front of you. And we bring a full orchestra in there. So, yeah, absolutely challenging as a conductor and trying to hold things together. I'm not going to even get into where to start. I'll just say one comment from a very famous conductor. Carlos Kleiber once said, you learn to conduct in an opera pit as opposed to conducting an orchestra.
Oh, okay.
If you want to conduct an orchestra, fine, but this is where you learn how to deal with the two pieces and engage in both. So.
Right. So are you also conducting the singers as well, and
yes.
and directing them as also?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Don't act surprised. It's like you have right hand on piano and left hand.
I know, but
right? You
But
can
like
do
this
it.
is like you're taking care of many
Absolutely.
instruments already, so that is already like insane for me, because like I'll just sing and play with my
I can't do
piano.
that. I can't sing and play piano at the same time.
It's good that we're
And I would
both doing
hope exactly.
what
and
we're
that's
doing.
that's why you get a wonderful orchestra as we have
Yes.
with incredible players. They each do their part, the singers do their part. I'm simply there to act as a vehicle to bring it together. I'm not a magical somehow figure that just snaps his fingers and it happens. They all do their part. And behind the scenes there's so much happening technical that they all do their part, and those puzzle pieces just come together.
Cool.
I'm just the sort of vehicle to bring it out, that's all. It's quite humbling, actually,
That's amazing.
to see them do the work and I pull it together, that's
Right.
all.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we've got your information online as well. Thank you so much for chatting with me,
Thank you,
Dennis. This
Arlene.
was great. And as promised, I've got a special performance for you right after the break.